about proper rest? No to kind of, sort of.
Everybody has to either raise their hand, yes or no.
Okay, parents, do you feel like it's more now than before? You feel less rested now than ever before?
Yes.
Yes? Do you think it has to do with the fact that you've grown up?
No thoughts in the mind.
It has actually, the number of, the amount of restlessness that our teenagers are facing is way more than you all would have faced when you were teenagers, correct or wrong?
Yes.
So there's a bigger factor than just age. Actually, it is connected to the time period in which we are living right now. And today we'll think a little bit from a very simplistic point of view. The brain activity, we'll connect it to that. Very, very simply, most basic explanation, there are two types of functions that the brain engages in. It engages in cognitive function, where it's actively processing and interacting with the world, like thinking about what to say, or playing sports, or answering questions in a test, or speaking to someone. All of those things where we're interacting with anyone or anything in the outside world, that is a cognitive function, and that is one kind of type of processing that our brain engages in. The other type is the non-cognitive activity. So that is all the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that we don't have time to resolve because we're too busy. For example, you're just about to go into a test, and someone tells you that the person who you think is your best friend, actually they told me they're just pretending to be friends with you. Now, that may be true or not true, but that thought has gone in your mind. And now you go and you sit to write your test. You had time to process that thought? No. Where did it go? Somewhere in your brain it has gone. Okay? Then all the information, the data that we are consuming at the rate of less than 30 seconds per next set of info, right? We don't have time to think about it. We don't have time to process it. We feel like it's not a big deal, Watch something for 5 seconds, watch something for 5 seconds, watch something for 5 seconds, no big deal. But all of this is collected in our mind. The amount of information that our brain processes is unbelievable. And we're not processing this information that we collect in an active way. It is going on in an unconscious way, this processing in our brain. All the scrolling, all the news will come under this. This processing is done by a part of our brain. Does anyone know what that part of the brain is called? The unconscious processing is done by, not like a specific part of the brain, but there's a collection of parts of the brain that are called the default mode network. Anyone heard of that? Default mode network. This default mode network is always doing unconscious processing in the background. And a lot of research has been done lately, I think since the early 2000s, a lot of research is going on this part of the brain. Now, it is the part of the brain that doesn't allow us to sleep because we are disturbed. Anyone here have sleeping problems? Sleeping problems have become more now than ever before. Okay? Then it's the part of the brain that causes compulsive eating and addictions that we can't explain. It's the part of the brain that makes us do things we don't know why we're doing. And it is always processing. Right? And this is connected to stress and depression because of the amount of hyperactivity that is going on. And now you tell me, as the amount of information that we get from the world increases and the amount of busyness that we have increases, the activity of this default mode network will go up or down? Up or down?
Up.
Up. Everyone, it's very obvious that it's going to go up, right? So the default mode network is going to get more and more activated over time, not less. Okay? Now, this thing is actually causing so many problems. What are the problems? Well, the hyperactive TMN, this part of the brain, when it is active all the time, it also impinges on our cognitive abilities. Means our capacity to study efficiently, to speak properly and actively and with awareness with other people, to play sports with full awareness, to excel in simple things like playing chess and all of those things. Our capacity to do any kind of cognitive ability is reduced when our default mode network is working at full speed. Right? That means that all the errors in life, like loss of efficiency, loss of proficiency, loss of proper response, is connected to this thing, this default mode network, working overtime. Does that mean we are doomed? Information is going to keep increasing or it's going to decrease? Keep increasing. So now what do we do? Doomed. We're doomed? We're not doomed. You guys are. Kidding. Actually, a lot of studies are being done now on this part of the brain, like I said. And it's not being done by Hindu people, mind you. I think in Sweden, a lot of this research is being done. What they have found is that chanting of mantras, stutis, stotrams, all these kinds of things, actively reduces the activity of that part of the brain. Research is showing that chanting reduces, it does something to that part of the brain. That part of the brain becomes calm, balanced, measured, and in our control, and available for more cognitive function. And the beauty of it is that you don't need to know what the mantras that you're chanting mean for it to have that effect on that part of your brain. See how amazing our rishis are? They devised this technique thousands of years ago that we started to call irrelevant. And it is more relevant now than ever. Right? The outside world is appreciating the benefit of these ancient techniques. Wouldn't it be a pity if we had to employ it after we started to see other people pay for it? You know, when it becomes a monetized industry that people pay for, like psychology and psychiatry, then we're like, ooh, there is some value to it. Would it not be a shame to at least try it? You know, see, the other option that we have is to do what we're currently doing, which is, I feel tired, I feel like I need a break, I feel like I need rest. Go and watch Netflix, go and watch YouTube shorts, go and take a vacation, go and talk to my friends on Instagram. Does that stuff actually help? Does anyone actually feel peaceful and rested and calm and in control of their life after that? So, if the options given to us are not working, and we have an option that is proposed and scientifically proven to work, then if we sit there and our life is still the same, you know what our rishis and our mahatmas would call us? In Sanskrit, the word is mudha. Anyone know the translation for that? Fool. You decide what you want to be. But there is really scientific evidence for the power and benefit of chanting. Then, once you actually learn the meaning of those chants, that's a totally different conversation also. But just the chanting itself has the power for us to take control of our life. Now, this thing our rishis did, they didn't tell us, look what happens in the default mode network, see the activity in the brain. None of that. They said, chanting brings purity of mind. Nice way to simplify this or not? Chanting brings purity of mind. So, anyways, everyone think about that and see. Our Hindu tradition is so beautiful also. No one is saying you have to chant this one thing. Since you were in Shishuvihara, some of you know, or level 1, you would have all been learning so many different types of chants. You pick anyone that you like, and you go on chanting it. And no one also needs to know on the outside that your mind is going on chanting something. But you are getting the blessings and the power of this ancient tradition. Yes?
What about listening to chanting?
Listening to chanting, no, see, if you all know we're so good at listening to things without actively listening to it. Right? If it's going on in the background and you're not paying attention to it, then that makes no difference. If it's going on in the background and you're listening and your mind is chanting along, then you're chanting. So it depends on what you mean by listening. Right? It being played in the background and your mind on something else doesn't matter. That has its own benefits and all, but the active effort of chanting is what we're talking about. Okay, so this is something for everyone to know. Did anyone know this? Some. Okay, good. Alright.